Alright guys, welcome back. Last class, we chose one or two colors that we felt that our fantasy animal was going to be colored. And today we're going to apply gradients or a monochromatic color scheme, tints and shades of one color, to our animal. Yesterday, we practiced showing gradients of our chosen colors. We can pick one, or since I have two manatees, two colors. I'm going to make the mom manatee the purple and the baby the red violet. Okay, got to show me the lights, the mediums, and the darks. Okay, let's apply that today. It can be scary to start painting your beautiful animal drawing because you have worked so hard on it. Make sure you're painting somewhere flat so that we don't have any accidents. Okay, now if you look at the shading, I see some dark areas where I have shaded darker. So that's probably going to be the darkest place that I shade the purples on the mom. Okay, if I were to shade the baby, I would do my darkest values where it's really shaded and add more water in the other areas. Okay, so how do we start? First off, we are only working on one of the characters at a time, one creature at a time, because if I were to paint the mom and then paint the baby, what would happen if they were both wet? Do you remember from when we were working in watercolor for our other neurographic? They would bleed together. Okay, so today I'm going to paint the mom, and then in a couple hours later I will come back and paint the baby. Never put wet next to wet because it will bleed together. Right now I am wetting the paper so that I can have some kind of a blur effect. I can get that wet on wet blur effect. We want to work with clean water. Don't ever do wet on wet with your dirty water. Go get up and change that. Okay, so I've just wet the mom, and she is going to be different shades of violet. When you're doing wet on wet, make sure it doesn't go out of the page. Now, if that does happen, make sure you have a paper towel or a napkin or a piece of toilet paper nearby so that we can contain the spill. There's a lot of ways to fix up things that go wrong with watercolor. Okay, so I have mom. I've done wet on wet. I'm going to start working with my color. If your color on your palette has dried up yesterday, just add water to it and it refreshes it without you having to mix it. So I'm going to start putting in some purple. And some of you are saying, but I want it to be dark there. Well, watercolor works best with layers. You have to, excuse me, you have to put layers of watercolor in. So I'm going to put my pale layer in, and then when this dries, I'm going to come back in with maybe like rubbing my brush darker into those areas and put some of my darker values. Okay, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes.